This woman could very well be the most evil woman in history, and when I tell you about all the horrible things that she has done, I guarantee you will agree with me. Her name was Belle Gunnis, and she was a serial killer, but even as serial killers go, she was one of the worser ones. That's because the way that she'd murder people was that she'd find a random dude to marry, have children with him, and then kill both him and their children. However, she would always make their deaths look like an accident so she could go and collect their life insurance policies. Just imagine for a second how evil that is, killing your own husband and your precious children just for money. But that's exactly what Belle did, and she's the very reason that all the children in this picture are now dead. What Belle would do is that she put strychnine poison in the food of her husband and children, which would make it seem like they died from a disease called acute colitis instead of them being poisoned. Over the years, she ended up killing 2 of her so-called husbands, as well as 6 of her own children, and collected on all of their life insurance policies. All of that money made Belle a very rich woman, and she could have easily stopped there. But she didn't, and believe it or not, what she did next was even worse. Part 2 will be out soon. This is part 2 of the most evil woman in history. Go check out part 1 if you haven't already. After killing off both of her husbands, as well as several of her own children, Belle Gunnis wasn't done, which is really freaking absurd because she was already really rich by then. But I guess she just wanted more of that moolah, and I think she was also tired of having children because she came up with a more effective and perhaps even more evil way of getting money. She used the money she got from killing her own children to buy a large farmhouse that was isolated from people. And then she would put advertisements in newspapers to invite rich men to come over to her farmhouse. She specifically told these men to bring all their money and not to tell anyone that they were visiting her. For God knows what reason, tons of rich men agreed and they showed up to her farmhouse, but they would never be seen again. That's because Belle would invite them in, take their money, and then either poison them or beat them to death. She was also 6'2" and 200 pounds, so even if the guys tried to fight back, they were absolutely no match for her strength. It is suspected that Belle used this method to kill over 30 men, and she would always feed their bodies to her pigs afterwards. One day, however, her farmhouse mysteriously burned to the ground. Investigators found the bodies of her children, as well as several men in the rubble. But Belle's body would never be found, and she would never be seen again.